Hey, it's the Riding Ref. I drove here today to meet with the Kaiju Coach.
How y'all doing?
And as always, I don't hate, I just officiate your favorite Kaiju TV shows. Today we're going to be talking about Monarch Legacy of Monsters and how much we liked or didn't like that show, penalties and challenges from the coach himself, if he has any. And we'll talk briefly about the whole show, and then we're going to do 5 episodes of these, 2 episodes at a time. But first we want to plug Kaiju Go event, which is in Dallas. If you're nearby, that's where we live, on August 17th. It's a Japanese monster film and art and toy showcase.
At the Texas Theater in downtown Dallas, there'll be 2 movie showings. There'll be Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla from 1974 and Godzilla vs. Galante from 1989. Those will be in the evening. We'll also have a ton of vendors, artwork, toys, speakers. There'll also be Ultraman, anything Kaiju, anything Toho will all be there. This will be the second year they've done it here in Dallas. Travis and I went last year. We had a really great time, and we like to get the word out, get some more people there. It was packed last year. It should be a whole lot of fun if you're a Godzilla fan, if you're a Toho fan, Ultraman, anything like that. Kaiju Go, August 17th, 2024, this year. Come on down and join us. If you see us, come say hi. All right? Sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Rebellion tell me to protect them. What if they get sick?
While Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces.
Monarch Legacy of Monsters.
Yes.
What did we think overall of that show? You mentioned to me earlier that it wasn't quite what you expected, but once you figured out what the show was, it got better as you went along.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was under the impression it was going to be a Godzilla series, the big man over here,
Yes.
and it wasn't. It's a Monarch series, which would make sense because it's called Monarch.
Yes.
Once I figured out that it was more about the development of Monarch into what it is, and not a monster show, I was fine with that. It took me about 3-4 episodes to really wrap my head around it. Godzilla is a cameo, not the star. Not sure if I'm a fan of that because I'm here for the G-Man. But once I got my head wrapped around that, what it was, I really enjoyed the show. Kurt Russell was fantastic. His son was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. There were some things that were funny about it that you and I talked about, and we're going to go over here in the next few days. But overall, I enjoyed it.
And I did too. And I think what this show does is it was a chance for people over at Legendary and Warner Brothers to go, okay, we started out in 2014 with a Godzilla movie, and we kind of had different directors with different visions, and we did different things. We brought in King Ghidorah, and we brought in Mechagodzilla, and our stories kind of went on. And we got some criticism for our human characters and our storytelling, and I guess that's because we kind of did things off the cuff. So what this show seems to do for me is to kind of, if I'm a writer, I'm looking at the whole Godzilla series and say, how can I connect these movies with weird, crazy, very high concept science fiction-y plots like a Hollow Earth theory, which really doesn't make much sense in physics, and how can we make that make sense a little better? Do a good job of using this television show. We can connect the whole timeline, somehow make a little bit more sense to more people, and I think they did a good job with that by starting with G-Day in 2014 and kind of connecting the dots almost to the point where you had the King of Monsters plot kick off with Apex and that kind of thing, or even the Mechagodzilla plot. So it might run into Godzilla v Kong.
I want to say that I think the Monarch series, as you're sitting there talking like that, it's something kind of clicked with me, it's a lot like The Mandalorian. There was a lot of filling in the gaps of the storyline.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian, it was filling in the gaps of the Star Wars storyline, going from New Hope to The Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi, and moving forward. It filled in those gaps. And I think that's what Monarch was trying to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gaps in between G-Day and Mechagodzilla, and they're trying to fill in that storyline.
Let's start off with episode 1. We're going to start with the first scene, and we're going to fast forward to this.
It's the opening sequence to Skull Island.
Yes.
Is what it is. The King Kong Skull Island, 73. Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman,
Yes.
host of others.
Get hit by the helicopter here.
Yeah.
I like how I don't know, some of these shots are from the Skull Island movie, and they've been repurposed to look like grainy camera footage that John Goodman's shooting. And there he is.
There's Big John.
He looks a little older, but it's passable.
Yeah. Well, he never looked young to begin with.
Yeah.
Bill Randa. Bill Randa. That's important because some people
Yes.
who are idiots forgot that that's who that was.
Yeah, and he suffers from the Obi-Wan complex where 10, 20 years makes you age
A lot.
a lot.
A lot.
Yep.
20 years made us age a lot too. Travis.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot more silver in this than used to be bright red. So
I had to look back at the Kong movie to even remember if he was part of the group being attacked by the spider. And maybe he got attacked by the spider in some different... Scylla, yeah.
I believe that's how they're pronouncing that.
Scylla.
Yeah, I don't remember him being part of it. Was he in that crew?
No, I think that was... I think he was with Samuel L. Jackson's people during this, but he must have got chased by the Scylla at some point. And it has to be after the guy got speared through the head by it.
Well, he lost his mind.
Yes.
The movie was trying to make a point.
Yeah, and of course you may not even remember that. I thought when I was watching this, I was like, is this where he died? I don't remember this.
Yeah, no, he died with the skullcrawler.
Yeah, I guess.
Eating.
Get chomped on.
Yep.
I'll show that. Okay, so for some reason, giant crab decides it doesn't like giant spider.
This scene filled me with the false hope that this was going to be a monster show. So I was like, oh, this is great. We got a kaiju battle right off the bat. Giant crab, giant Spider-Man. This is great. And then, no, that's not what this was.
No.
False advertising.
Yep. But it is a good hook, and it's more of a prologue.
It's a good fight scene.
Yeah.
For people who like monster on monster fights, that was a good fight scene.
So we have a prologue, and the show tells you, okay, this information that bag is not just the video he just made, but it's his entire life's work.
Yes.
Which is an interesting thing to carry around with you. But his entire life's work is now in the ocean.
Well, people do that now, but it's called a cell phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right, and then they fish it out in the Sea of Japan. So, anyway, so it's an interesting start. We'll go ahead and go to the next scene. So after all that, we're introduced to the main character of Kate. And then I kind of wanted to show this world building scene where she gets into a taxi cab. But here she goes. You're seeing the world in New Japan, Tokyo. We're now a year after Godzilla attacks San Francisco.
Yeah, 1 year post G-Day.
Yeah, and of course Tokyo's going to be worried because that's Godzilla's main target.
Exactly. 65 years of history says he's going to attack Japan.
Yeah. Yep. It's implied a bunch of cities are like this, but there's the guns, and then this guy, of course, believes the whole attack on San Francisco was a hoax, which is very relevant to today's world.
I love when it's a hoax for an entire city. It's fantastic. I like it. Las Vegas, too. Don't forget. Las Vegas got it. Yeah.
Okay.
See? People forget that now. No one cares about Las Vegas. That's why the Raiders and the A's are moving there.
That's why the Super Bowl is there.
That's right. No one knows.
One of the big plot points of this whole series is that her dad had 2 secret families. And that's how all these characters come together. There's a bunch of other ways you could have done that. Maybe they thought they were that would have been too cliche.
I thought it was weird. I don't know. Again, when I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I want to see more monsters.
Yeah.
I know they make Kate very unlikable at the start.
Yeah.
Of the series. I was like, I really don't like her. I hope she gets chomped.
Because her dad's the one who was kind of a douchebag having 2 families, but she goes and just yells at these people. Like, hold on. And so,
these people didn't know you existed either, young lady.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting way to open that. I'm with you. I don't know why. I mean, maybe they're trying to do it something different. I don't think the dual family adds a lot to the storyline.
This is often why I advise first-time writers and writing their first book or script, don't start with a prologue, because prologues will get you in trouble, because now we're wondering, where the heck is John Goodman's character? What happened to that thing? And we are not shown that till halfway through this episode, and that's my first penalty there is prologue is interesting, hook-worthy, but does not immediately hook to the main characters.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I will. I'm not going to challenge that. I'll wave my challenge flag. I think that's a good... If you aren't a Godzilla fan, you're going to miss a lot of stuff early.
Yeah.
They don't lay it out very well. I'm a big Godzilla fan, and it took me about episode 3 or 4 to figure out, to remember in my head, John Goodman was Bill Randa.
Yes.
And that this person here, they're the same people.
Yes.
And it took me a minute, 3 episodes to connect those dots.
Let's get to Bill Randa's first flashback scene and watch a little bit of that.
Okay.
I don't even know if they even say his name. I think they say Bill at one point. But so now we're in Kazakhstan, 1959. And
lovely. Kazakhstan in the spring is just absolutely beautiful.
Yes. And we just jumped here to these 3 characters when we don't see anybody that looks like a Japanese father.
Right.
We don't see the information that John Goodman threw into the ocean. Or we don't see him collecting that. So we don't see that bag is sort of a symbol that maybe if he had that with him in this scene, it would include people in.
Right.
that he's collecting his life's work and keeping it with him. No, we just have this weird driver. We have Shaw. What's the actor's name?
Lee Shaw.
Yeah, Lee Shaw. And then we have, there's a
Wyatt Russell.
Yeah.
Russell's son.
We have a Japanese woman, and I'm sitting thinking, okay, maybe she's related to the two people in the present. I am able to put that together a little bit, just genetics, not really
Right.
Yeah. So, but we have these people, and so now we're being introduced to a whole new story, and we don't know what it has anything to do with what we just saw in the present.
Right.
And we don't know if it has anything to do with the prologue, which it does. So this scene should really have come first, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So,
Should have been the scene on the island, and then it cuts to this,
mm-hmm.
and then you can start working into the whole family line story.
Yeah, in the present, or 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
But
None
again,
of this is ever the present.
But the storyline with the family, though, doesn't really mesh with the rest of the stuff you're seeing. It's never really explained why he had the two families, what the point was behind that, or how it fits into the storyline.
The weird thing is in episode 2, they go back even further and show how these three meet and get together. This is
Well,
all...
it did because it tied into the Bikini Atoll testings, which is where Godzilla got exposed to the radiation, and that's where, from the original Godzilla movie in 2014, legendary one, the photographs they have are from that Bikini Atoll testing, because that was their first attempt to try and kill him.
Yeah.
So it ties in that way, so I was okay with that, because I eventually saw where they were going with it.
Yeah, throw your red flag there. That's a challenge.
I'll challenge.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. But it's, I would challenge that a little bit, because when they go back that far, it's to set up where they first see Godzilla, why the Bikini Atoll testing was done, was to kill Godzilla. They have those videos of his spikes through the water and stuff like that. So I understood that tie-in.
Yeah.
It still makes a lot more sense to me than the dual family does.
Yeah. And this whole sequence of them going into this radioactive place in Kazakhstan, all of it is really leading to Keiko's apparent death.
Right.
Which, I guess they want to build intrigue and hook the audience with, oh no, what happened to her? Did she survive? But I think that is something that is a mid-series hook. Yeah, you could have started with the expedition to find the dragon. And the expedition to find the dragon introduces all these characters anyway. So why are they starting here is an editing call for me that I would be like, start with the dragon exposition, use this what happened to Keiko and why is she lost thing for after you've gotten to know these characters a little bit.
Yeah, throw the flag. I agree with that. No, I agree. Because like I said, it was a rough start on those first few episodes, because I get trying to base with the flashbacks.
Yeah.
But even the flashbacks had flashbacks. And the flashbacks had flash forwards, and it was the continuity was not there.
Right.
And I think that was the biggest issue early on. That I really struggled to stay with the show. It wasn't the fact that I was such a big Godzilla fan. I probably would have turned it off.
Here's the part of the first episode that they did a good job with, and you'll see a flashback done right, is Kate is decided to leave this family behind, and this is the next scene, and she gets caught up in a emergency drill, which turns out to be a drill.
Godzilla drill, yes.
And she thinks it might be real at first, but it induces a panic attack. And we're shown why she's having this panic attack, because in 2014, and then we get the best scene in the first episode, which is this bus scene here. So let's react to that. Now, something that I thought at first was, is this being reshot from the 2014 movie? But when you look at it really closely, no, this is a recreation of the set, and they have to make Godzilla a new angle and character all over again.
Right.
Yeah, this is from the opposite side of where the 2014 movie is shot. And in that movie, a bus gets away and drives away.
Right.
This movie, no.
This was the other side of Godzilla, the other side of the bridge.
So there were a bunch of buses on the bridge, and hers is very unfortunate. And I thought that was well done. And those poor kids, and Godzilla is just, he didn't mean it, but there was a big bridge in his way.
To be fair, he was being shot at by missiles.
Yes.
Yeah. And to be fair, I understand why they were shooting at him with missiles.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you get hit by a missile, things happen.
Big monster. You don't know he's on your side.
He's really not on anybody's side. He doesn't really like you. He doesn't really think about you.
No, he doesn't. He was really mad at what the Mutos were about.
Very much so.
Yes.
Very
he
much
wanted
so.
to get to them. If you ever been walking through the forest and a spider web kind of gets in your way?
Yes.
And you're just like... That's the Godzilla to me.
That was the Golden Gate Bridge. Right?
Yeah.
That nice tie-in right there. I like that. That's a good tie-in. That way to bring it all back together.
Yeah,
I like
right.
that. I like that. That's good storytelling. Right?
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
We do need to mention, in this scene...
When they're searching their father's office.
Yeah.
They find the safe.
He tears that off because she's being an asshole.
She's very unlikable.
Yeah.
They open the safe and they find the bag.
They find the bag that we saw in the prologue.
Yeah, they find the bag, which
would be
Sturdy construction, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, floated in the ocean for several years. It's now 40 some odd years since that happened.
Yes.
It's quite impressive. But the bag triggers another flashback. Just remember seeing that Monarch symbol on the shoulders of the people at the bridge.
And sometimes you want to have likable characters and unlikable, and Kentaro could be likable, but he's obviously not the point of view character. Kentaro is very much more trying to understand what's going on instead of just being an asshole to everyone. I think his mom is the most likable character in the show so far.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
She's just like, there's a lady in my house. Would you like some tea? Like,
well, that's very polite.
Yeah.
Very polite.
So,
just because someone's breaking into your house doesn't mean you have to be rude to them.
Kate has enough to deal with where you don't have to have her go from being an asshole to being nice to everyone.
Yes.
She's got panic attacks to overcome. Where this induces kind of a flashback to the last time she saw her father, which would have been a good place to introduce her at.
Yes.
Because then we'd understand a little more why she's being an asshole to everyone. Now we know what the plot is about.
Yes.
And we are
right there.
We are 36 minutes into the episode, and now we understand how everything connects finally.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of a lot of pacing issues in this, and a lot of putting the wrong scenes in the wrong place.
Sequencing again.
Yes.
And it goes back to the sequencing was not right.
Inside the bag, they find electronics equipment, and they decide they need to go find this guy's hacker buddy, who is a main character. Turns out to be a main character, May. And right now, you're not sure if she's going to be a main character, but she's also mean to everybody. So
yeah, a lot of angst with these people here. They are definitely a odd grouping because nobody seems to like anybody.
Yep. May is like obviously very well skilled, but she hacks into it, and then we meet Tim, who
the guy in the basement.
The guy in the basement, and he's alerted, so he comes in the second episode to get Kate, but really kind of low-key kidnaps her, but it's like...
What he really wants is
it's a polite kidnapping.
Yeah, he wants the bag. He wants the information. Here we go. This is...
the bug kidnap.
The bug...
Kidnapping.
Bugs.
The kidnapping bugs.
Yeah.
They're going to drag you to the other dimension and not eat you. Because they figured out she didn't taste very good.
Don't get me started on that one.
She fought him off somehow. She learned how to make a bow and arrow.
Yeah, after they were already crawling all over her and dragging her to the bottom of a hole to a whole other dimension.
Yeah.
Evidently, when they hit rock bottom, they're like, you don't taste that good. And they let
Are
her
you
go.
saying your suspension of disbelief was interrupted that she survived? Yep.
I'm throwing a flag. Coach has never thrown a flag before. I'm throwing the flag.
You're throwing the flag?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great scene.
Yeah.
It's a great scene. I don't like bugs anyway.
So I thought the conflict was going to be over these two guys blaming each other for her dying rather than... And I had a sense that maybe she wasn't dead, but because of how early this plays. And again, if you play it mid-season, you might be able to fool me into thinking, okay, that's the reason
those things are gross.
That Shaw's character ended up in a mental asylum. We meet him in a mental asylum next episode, but he's a very cognizant mental patient.
Yes.
Which he wasn't for years until he stopped taking the medicine they were forcing him to have.
See, look at all those bugs.
Yeah.
Look at all those bugs grabbing on her. Yeah, she escaped that. Yeah, she's fine.
Well, when you fall through the other dimension,
they all fall off.
They all fall off.
Sure, that's what we'll go with. And we're talking. I'm not a big continuity guy.
No.
I just watch shows for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, there it is. And so we're talking about episode 2, and we get into episode 2, and we get an introduction for Shaw and how he's got this relationship with the general, and the general just wants to get rid of some annoying problems, 2 problems at one son. So he sends Shaw to escort this Japanese lady who he also considers to be a problem, and they go do that. We get a little bit of Kentaro moping around, which
a little bit
millennials. Right? Yeah, it's just.
What are you gonna do?
So he mopes around and he discovers a file on Shaw because he's still going through the documents. And then we go to another flashback, which is really where I think we should have met these characters in the first place. But they meet in the middle of a rainforest. So here we go. We're in the middle of the rainforest, and we show his camera. Oh, hello.
Oh, look, other people in the middle of the rainforest.
So. This is what we call a story contrivance, or a plot contrivance.
Right.
But
look,
we didn't know how to have Billy Randa meet these other two guys. He couldn't just already be an associate of Keiko's.
Or meet at a university,
right?
a restaurant in Tokyo, Manila. No, it's some random dude walking by himself in the rainforest of post-World War II Philippines, where there's still Japanese soldiers that don't know it's the war is over with.
Yes.
Filipino rebels who don't like anybody. And Shaw and this lady. And he just, hey, how you doing? It's a little, and it's like, hey, let's start a company. You know?
Shaw does point a gun at him briefly.
He does.
But he's a white guy, so I'm kidding.
You can't say that. You're gonna get in trouble.
I am gonna get in trouble. Yeah. So they do a good job in this series of her dealing with light discrimination, which suggests the harsher discrimination that she would have actually faced. But she does deal with being a former enemy in this time period. It's a little tongue-in-cheek sometimes, but also sometimes very direct, and I appreciated that. I would have liked to have explored that a little deeper. It just comes up where it's organically appropriate.
I don't know what it would have done with the storyline.
Yeah.
It was there. To say that 1940s U.S. military personnel in the Pacific were not big fans of the Japanese.
No, they were not.
For a lot of really obvious reasons. So they touched on it, they let you know it's there, and it may have been an interesting storyline, but I don't think it's a storyline that would have fed with what this series ended up being about.
Well, when they go find Godzilla again later in the show, there's another Japanese character that comes along who has built this kaiju bait thing. That would have been an interesting place to, because the Japanese men would have also not been very keen on a woman
not at all
telling them what to do.
Correct.
So
yes, very much so.
He's very nice to everyone. So
yeah, very nice to everyone.
Yeah.
And so is Bill Randa here.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Just randomly walking through a rainforest by himself. I'm sure his survival skills are top notch.
Yes. And so now we have the very proficient Monarch kidnapping, where Tim approaches Kate and politely kidnaps her, invites her along, and she goes along, and then okay, now we're gonna put this bag over your head, and obviously she doesn't like that very much, even with. So.
Well, like I said, Monarch doesn't deal with micro; they deal with macro, right?
Yes.
They can trap giant titans inside, like volcanoes, like Rodan. But people, they don't do people.
No.
They do monsters. They don't deal with people. So it's little. They don't do with micro.
Yes. Now I don't remember. You were talking about how Tim represents the soul of Monarch.
I do, and I think, only because we were talking about it, is that Tim, at his heart, I don't think is a bad person. I think he in his heart, he is true to what Monarch was supposed to be. What Bill Randa founded it to be, and that's
why he's been put in the basement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He wants to study monsters and to prevent bad things from happening to people. To where Monarch has become a big business, and it's kind of lost its soul. He is still its soul. He is still what Monarch was founded at being. And so he has a hard time being a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's not very good at it because he's not a bad person. He's
Yeah.
being forced to do things and handle things a certain way he doesn't think are the right way. He just wants the truth.
Yeah.
He wants Bill Randa's tapes. He wants that information to help further preventing things like G-Day happening again.
They found the very intimidating looking woman here to be this other agent.
Did we decide she was French?
Duval.
Yeah.
Is her name.
Did we decide she's French?
He didn't decide if she's French or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But she could very well be in a John Wick movie.
She could, definitely.
Yeah.
You can see that's one of the assassins. Yeah, absolutely. She could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
For some reason, Duval is not a very good driver when distracted. So.
I'm not either. I'm not either. My favorite part about her panic attacks is that we get to see Godzilla.
Yeah, that is a pretty brutal looking car crash that everybody just walks away from. But plot armor is sometimes.
Hey,
thick.
modern,
She does limp a little bit.
modern
now she's
safety
fine.
features. Yeah, modern safety features are fine. And to be fair, as crowded as Japanese streets are, you're not going very fast anyway.
Right, so that's that scene.
The politest kidnapping you'll ever see.
Yes. Kentaro goes back and apologizes for whatever beef they had with each other that we were only told about. And she's been working on the
tapes
the whole time. Kate goes to the police. They basically don't believe her. We get scenes like this in a lot of speculative fiction, where the police are not helpful because they can never believe that you've been kidnapped by a French lady and a very polite, and they think she's a drunk.
Not a great advertisement for the Japanese tourist bureau.
Yeah. Kentaro is dealing with his feelings with his mom. They're ripping up photos, but he doesn't want to rip up one because he saw a file on Shaw. Tim tries to go find Kentaro.
Kidnapping attempt number 2.
Yes, kidnapping attempt number 2.
Goes even worse than the first one.
The old "I've got to go to the bathroom" trick.
It works every time.
Yeah.
Especially on Timmy.
Yep. But actually, he's gonna go get the thing that they want. He's gonna go in the other room and go get it.
They want the files.
And they just like, okay, we'll wait here. And he goes out the window. Now this destroyer is interesting. Shane, you know the history of this real disappearance of this destroyer?
No, it sank.
Yeah.
It sank. It sank. And I didn't follow up on that with you, but a lot of destroyers sank during World War II.
Yeah.
You know, they were produced to be disposed.
But there's a lot of weird conspiracy theories about this one. It was never found again.
Right.
It's usually assumed that it sank. It's kind of a Bermuda Triangle type thing, where it just mysteriously vanishes. Bill says he serves on this destroyer during World War II.
Correct. During World War II. Yes. Which adds to the intrigue of that, because how did it end up in the middle of a rainforest in the Philippines?
Yeah.
Right.
So this is good build-up. That's why I think you would lead with this instead of bugs. But
It was a better monster.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you find out that he served on this ship. He was the only survivor of the sinking, and he knew that something weird happened when it disappeared, and so that's why he's been looking. You find out he's been looking for it ever since, and that's how he ended up in a rainforest in the Philippines all by himself.
right. So they're going through the ship, and it goes back and forth between them looking around this slimy ship and the 3 lead 2015 characters deciding to work together. It flips back and forth about 3 times.
Yeah.
Until Kentaro's investigations lead everyone to go find Lee Shaw, who is
Kurt Russell. Killing the Smalls.
Yes, I always kill you. And Kurt Russell is in a mental institution that
No, he's in a retirement home.
A retirement home.
Retirement home that's owned and controlled by Monarch.
Right, okay.
Where they put people out to pasture they don't want to deal with anymore.
Right, okay. And he's got a silver alert bracelet on, basically.
Basically, it's a really nice prison. That's what it is. It's a really nice prison.
Yes. You get the impression that Shaw has escaped this place a couple different times already. Because he knows exactly how to and what, and they haven't, Monarch hasn't figured out how he does it. But he just takes the ankle bracelet off and leaves.
Again, micro and macro.
Yes.
Monarch doesn't do well with small, they do well with big.
Yeah. So he convinced, this is an interesting scene of them learning. Everybody's actually being kind of cordial with each other at this point and not being an asshole.
He knows what the place is. They don't know. What it is. They don't understand what. And really, you don't either until that moment when you're like, well, there's an awful lot of security here at this retirement home.
Yeah.
Lee Shaw's like, do you really want to know what's going on, or do you just want to take a drive?
Yeah.
You know. And so he kind of challenges them a little bit, and they decide, sure, why not? It's Kurt Russell. Snake Plissken. You follow Snake Plissken.
People change loyalties a lot in this. I don't know if it's loyalty, but these 3 end up on the same side or against this different people a couple different times. And then we go into the past, and I said they run into this dragon, but dragon runs into them.
Right.
So you have which ends up being the antagonist for Godzilla in this series. People have called it the Ion Dragon because it gives off an ionic signature.
Yep.
But really, as we'll see later, it's not really something Godzilla has much problem with, but it is a nuisance. Yes.
Yeah, it is not a big deal.
Yeah.
To Godzilla. It's a big deal to other people.
Yeah.
But Godzilla really finds him to be quite annoying.
Yeah. I would find, basically a bat that throws up on me to be annoying too. But it's just defending its territory, I guess.
I think a nest. I think all the goo and stuff inside was like maybe eggs or something.
Yeah.
Again, they don't make it 100% clear.
Yeah. They don't make it 100% clear if it's even the same one.
Right.
Yeah.
At the same time, monsters. So yay.
Now apparently, the dimension in this show is like a you have normal Earth. They have the midway dimension.
Yeah.
And then you have the hollow Earth dimension.
Right.
But this show is establishing that they are in fact dimensions rather than true hollowness to the Earth. But there are dimensions along the way, and the monsters can travel freely because they like the radiation of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're human and you try to do it, you're gonna get imploded.
Right.
Unless you have a special spaceship, which
looks an awful lot like Sputnik.
Yes. Now, Godzilla's breath can punch a hole through dimensions, I guess.
Is what it looked like if you followed
Yeah.
Godzilla being Kong.
So he's not actually punching a hole to the center of the Earth. that atomic breath has probably is how I would explain it, the radioactive signature that can punch hole through these different dimensions to allow people or Kong to traverse it.
Yeah, I would say that episode 2 I thought was much better than the first one.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I'm starting to get an idea what we're doing here.
Yeah.
You really didn't get that sense in the first episode. It was kind of all over the place. Episode 2 was still all over the place, but at least you started getting a general idea of where we're moving. So,
writers, let that be a lesson to you. If you don't have a powerful studio breathing down your neck that wants certain things, and I don't think there was studio interference this time. I think it was just a writer's room trying to accomplish objectives before thinking about natural story flow.
I think they had a lot they wanted to convey, and they didn't have a clear vision how they're going to convey it.
Yeah. There's a line that comes up in an episode, and we'll talk about this in a future discussion between us, that Shaw's character, he says something to the effect, I'm not trying to stop Godzilla, I'm trying to help him.
Yes.
That was very interesting to me, but I was like, lean into that. How?
Yeah, how?
Because they don't
really tell you how.
Yeah.
Killing a snow aardvark doesn't explain.
Yeah, well, that he wants to seal all the entrances and that'll help Godzilla, but how does that help Godzilla in Shaw's mind?
Right.
I do like that's probably their goal that they're going for all along, is that Godzilla is the nature champion and we want to help him, but Shaw's going around about it the wrong way. But here in the setup chapters, trauma for one character, you got a sense of intrigue that their dad was doing something, and it has something to do with these 3 characters, that one of them dies, and then earlier though they found a dragon. So it's sort of like an 8-year-old telling a story, or a 5.
Someone with ADHD trying to tell you a story. Yes.
So when the next episodes we'll start to get into how this gets better. I think it really kind of gets better with the snow aardvark.
It does get better. No, it does. It absolutely does. Like I said, it starts hitting its stride in 3, 4 moving forward.
Yep.
First couple episodes were just tough to make it through.
Okay, so I've been the Writing Ref. This has been the Kaiju Coach, and that's been the call. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.